Yeah.
Jason L, what's going on, brother?
Hey, what's up, fellas? My fault for my tardiness.
Oh man, you all good? Yeah, actually, you right on time.
Right on time at this point.
We just went live.
He came in so fast, he lost his braids, brother. It's just. I see. I see. He just came flying in. Friction burns, man.
Man, I did this 20-mile bike ride, man, and I went with my son.
On purpose?
He was slowing me down, but he did good. He finished. He didn't quit. That's all that matters.
That's what's up.
Get that cardio in.
Good evening, Mr. Pillsbury. How you doing? Hey, what's interesting is, so I had this message from StreamYard that said that there were some issues with Facebook, but the stream should work perfectly fine. But I'm sharing it. So you're not having issues with sharing? Because it keeps saying that can't play video, try again. Hey, Megan.
Yeah, I didn't have an issue sharing it. I'm in there right now. It's good. I did see the message though that StreamYard was like, "Hey, we having issues, y'all. So things might get real."
Yeah, that's just weird. Hold on. Maybe if I go to.
What's up, Megan? How you doing?
Wow, this is not happening. I'm glad Stephen Pillsbury said that he is well. We are going to continue to shout some people up. What's up, Will?
Mr. Isaac. Hello, sir.
How you doing? Welcome to the conversation, which is going to start pretty soon. We're just getting everything popping. I'm going to try to see if I can't share it from. Actually, I could just try to do it on here because it's for some reason, like I said, it's not going from my phone, man. That's just some type of.
I feel like you may need to do your latest update on your phone because it's working real fine from mine.
You know, I feel like if I could throw something at you through this screen.
I mean, you need to upgrade your service from those old Nextel phones.
No, he got a newer iPhone, but you know.
Oh, he's got an iPhone.
Software updates are important. That's all I'm gonna tell you, people. Software updates are important.
Yeah, like it's just crazy. It's just this problem loading this video. It's weird. All right, but if everybody else is saying that they're able to do it, that makes me happy.
Is somebody fist fighting a dishwasher? What's going on? What's going on out there? It's like an epic Transformers battle going on in the background. What is going on here?
Jason L.
What's up, brother?
We just making sure you're all right. We just heard a lot of background noise.
You good, bro?
Yeah, I'm trying to get my protein shake
happening to you. We just trying to make sure you're all right.
Now I'll be right back, man. Give me 3 seconds.
All right. Hello?
Just so you know, I'm inventing a story in my head about the noises that I'm hearing.
You're inventing a story? All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening. We're going to have an interesting conversation tonight. So as you guys can see, you went and put the cap on. You didn't want to leave it out, man? You could have just left it out. Just rock with it.
I was looking like Torre from BET.
I loved it.
All right, so tonight we're gonna have an interesting conversation. The NFL is back. Playoffs in the NBA are happening. Sports franchises up and playing, even though COVID got them playing in a weird way with no crowds and things. But we're gonna talk about the gestures that are being made by these sports franchises, in particular pertaining to social justice. Let's see here. Is no one going to mention Fast King's digital attack?
I was going to, but I decided not to just throw him out there like that. I wanted y'all to notice it.
Listen, this is that new style. Y'all ain't ready for this. This is 2021 where when we all got to hide in the optical shadows. I'm just preparing for the incoming digital collapse.
Oh, goodness gracious. I love it. All right, so the NFL took this new stance, encouraging players to take a stand against racial injustice, and it got its first test this past week as when we kicked off with the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. The fans booed during a moment of silence to promote the cause, which begs the question, was it ever really about kneeling and disrespecting a flag or kneeling and respecting our veterans? JD, I'm going to toss it to you. Was it ever really about that?
I mean, I think there's a couple instances that prove that it wasn't, realistically. I mean, Roger Goodell came out a couple months ago and said, I wish I would have listened to Colin Kaepernick when he, did the silent protest the first time. So I think it was a couple of instances that just show that it was never really about disrespecting the flag. And think about it. Where did that come from? Where did that storyline come from around disrespecting the flags? It came from our President Trump. I mean, the hijacker of all things. Listen, I will tell you one thing that man is amazing at doing is dominating the news cycle and hijacking a narrative and turning it into whatever he wants. So obviously it was never about that.
All right, Jason L. First, I want to say welcome back to the panel, brother. We have missed you. It's been entirely too long.
Missed you, brother.
And I do want to just say this out front as well. So Ty couldn't be with us tonight. He had some things that he had to handle, but he sent his family instead. So welcome, family. And Just Jess, who typically joins with us, is in the process of moving. And so we said, hey, make sure you get your move on and get that done safely. So she'll be back with us in the next go round. Jason L., your thoughts about the Kansas City Chiefs fans booing during this moment. And mind you, by the way, this wasn't a black-white thing. Okay, like this wasn't a black player protesting racial injustice. This was black, white, Hispanic, all players locking arms in a moment of silence and unity to fight racial injustice. Yet it was still booed, man. So like, I'm going to ask you a different question. Is it un-American to protest racism?
Well, I think it's very American to protest in general. You go back to when England ruled the colonies, they protested and then created anarchy and started a war to gain their freedom. So from the beginning or the dawn of this country, per se, United States of America has always been protesting. I think it's un-American not to protest when you think something is wrong and there's some wrongdoing.
Okay, and I understand that, and especially the historical context, but that isn't typically protesting racial injustice as it pertains to racism against Black people. So let me rephrase the question. Is it un-American to protest racism against Black people?
I mean, it depends what Americans you're talking about, because it's always been an issue whenever Black Americans, African Americans, Negroes, coloreds, whatever you want to call, whatever name you want to use, it's always been an issue when they said, listen, you're going to treat us as human beings. You're going to respect us, respect the things we contribute, respect the things that we helped build this country. You built this country, was built off our backs. And anytime you try to, really promote our greatness and promote our mark in this country, it's an issue. It's always an issue. You could say Patrick Mahomes is the highest paid quarterback ever, right? And then the minute you put Black in it, it's like, oh no, it's an issue. So, it's always going to be an issue with this country, and that really stems from, I think it's historical. It stems from all the different things we have played, the importance of creating, molding this country. And I honestly believe that once people realize their greatness and awaken to their status and realize that they really are kings, inventors, and we've been slighted so many times, I think the country's in trouble. I mean, didn't they just come out and say Beethoven was Black after all these years? They promoted that he was white. So, they always whitewash things to downgrade us and upgrade them.
I'll tell you what, Fast King, JL, I appreciate you. Fast King, I want to know your thoughts around the kneeling and the booing of the coming into unity. So was it ever really about kneeling and disrespecting a flag or kneeling and disrespecting our veterans, or what do you feel it's actually about?
Well, I mean, from the very beginning of this, and it's actually funny. A few want to say maybe about a month or two ago, Ben Shapiro was actually on Joe Rogan's podcast, and that subject actually came up, and Joe Rogan live destroyed him. Like he pulled up where Colin Kaepernick was actually talking about the veteran who originally gave him the idea to kneel, to show it still shows respect for the men and women who've fallen for this country, but also it also shows that you're still in protest of what's happening, but you're still being respectful. And Ben Shapiro, he didn't even miss a beat. He was like, "Oh well, I guess I was wrong then," and he just kept going, even though he's been harping on that for months. It was never ever about kneeling. Kneeling is literally the most respectful thing you do. You kneel to pray. You kneel to pay fealty to your king. Kneeling has ever been a sign of disrespect ever. So it never was. It didn't matter what he could have done. It doesn't matter. They want to boo, and especially at this point in time, where you have the people who, like Steven Crowder, who in the early days when George Floyd was first murdered, he actually stated, he's like, "I was on your side until you started rioting." It's like, but no, you're not on our side if you looked at George Floyd's murder, obviously, and went, "Oh, that's wrong." You were on the side of justice. So at this point in time, it's no longer. They're just tired. They're like, we just want you to entertain us, and we're not interested in your politics because Black Lives Matter is now a terrorist organization that is responsible for a multiple of deaths in their minds. So it's no longer about we just want you to shut up and dribble.
Those famous words are "shut up and dribble."
Shut up and dribble.
I want to read something really quick about the NFL stance and some of the things they've committed to doing before we move into some of the other leagues that are out here. So the NFL is committing $250 million over the 10 years to social justice initiatives targeting what it calls systemic racism and supporting the battle against ongoing and historic injustices faced by African Americans, which sounds nice in essence. What's interesting is some of the quotes that come from some of the players. So I want to read two quotes from two different players. So Richard Sherman said that they've tried their best to throw money behind it for a long time. It takes more than that. It takes you literally calling out bigotry and being motivated. It's not just pleading, it's being consistent year in and year out, and you're combating this issue. And it's not that this is a problem that needs to change. It's not just that this year thing is not a 2016, 2017. It's Black Lives Matter, and they have to matter forever. So that comes from Richard Sherman. And then another quote I have, an interesting one from Malcolm Jenkins, as he was talking about defunding the police. It doesn't mean we eradicate police completely. We've got 10 million kids going to schools with police officers in them and no social workers. 3 million that have got police in their schools and no nurses. 6 million with police in their schools and no psychologists. Yet we want to invest in putting more police on the streets and over policing that we know doesn't make our community safer. So what I find interesting is the NFL is putting out certain stances. The NFL players tend to be speaking something completely different. So why do you think the NFL is missing here? Because it feels like while other leagues might be getting something right, the NFL continually gets this wrong. And is it that and I don't know if it's they want to get it wrong or they just are really that naive. So JD, I'm going to bring it back with you, brother. Why do you feel like the NFL is just getting this wrong? Or do you feel the NFL is getting this wrong? You're on mute.
Luckily, I didn't say very many words. I mean, it's tough. I can't say they're getting it wrong or getting it right. What I can say is they're doing something. And I'm no expert on what they need to do. I know they have players within that organization. Malcolm Jenkins has always been a beacon of light for them and trying to navigate them the right way and really call some things out. I mean, he called out his own teammate Drew Brees not too long ago. But I will tell you, seeing these, sports leagues contributing money towards the cause over a 10-year span. You mentioned the NFL at $250 million over a 10-year period. The NBA's at $300 million over a 10-year period. You also got private organizations like Dick's Sporting Goods that are committing $500,000, the WNBA, the NBA Foundation. So there's a lot of foundations that are putting money towards the causes. Is money enough? I'm not sure. What I would tell you is I think they're way ahead of where they were last year, where they weren't even considering doing anything. And now they're at least getting there. But is it enough? I can't tell you that.
Okay, and I just want to get caught up in the comments. Stephen Pillsbury says that as a war vet who has been to far too many funerals, military funerals, I hate it when people use the disrespecting veterans narrative. Soldiers of all colors have laid down their lives for this country, and they believed in those rights granted to them. So why would these soldiers be disrespected at people exercising their rights, especially in a peaceful and silent manner? I appreciate that, and we continue to thank you and all those who have served. Kiara is included in that. Politics has always acted as a reflection of the current status of the nation. The NFL and NBA are showing us the forced growth the nation is experiencing right now. And Tay, what's going on, the takeover, and make sure if you guys haven't seen it yet, go to his Facebook or his Instagram. And I hope I'm saying this right because I'm plugging his new song called Skin Black. It is amazing. If you get a chance, go listen to it. Tay says that's because the NFL is just being performative and placating us. They are trying to save face. They approve certain actions without really collaborating with people on the front line. The apology, and JD, I know you had fun with that one. The apology from Roger Goodell to Colin Kaepernick, I thought was extraordinarily interesting. So to keep the conversation moving forward, I do something that blew my mind when I heard it that they were going to do it. I was confused a little bit, and then I didn't see any of them televised. Now, I missed the very beginning of Kansas. I saw the booing, but I missed everything that happened before that at the Kansas City game. The NFL made this decision that they were going to feature the Black national anthem before games. And I didn't see any of them televised. So I was like, there's nobody in the audience and you're not televising it. So
they did for one game, the Dolphins-Patriots game. It actually was done. I think Alicia Keys was performing it. But that's the only game that I know of that it
and the
actually
Dolphins
was
didn't come out the locker room, if I'm not mistaken, for either national anthem.
No.
So my question, and then Fast King, I'll throw this over to you for this one, is, I mean, is that something that we should be happy with, that they're playing the national anthem and what's considered the Black national anthem?
I mean, it's obvious placation. I think they're stuck between a rock and a hard place, because there is a large swath of their base that is steadily coming to look at Black lives and, well, the Black Lives Matter organization, or black people in general, as becoming a serious threat. So they're saying, how can we make everyone happy while we can still make money, which is their primary goal. Is it enough? No. I suppose it's an acknowledgement, but here's the thing: you look at the end result. All it did, Black people look at it and we go, okay, obvious placation, and everyone else, well, they hate it. So it's just it's well, I guess maybe they didn't focus group it before they decided to do it. Honestly speaking, at this point, and what I'm going to say is very controversial, is that I don't care. I will take any demonic deal. I will work with anyone, because I realize our position in the hierarchy. We're 13% of the population. The vast majority of us have criminal records and can't get guns. So like you can go on Instagram and you can look at Hawk Newsom's Instagram and you can see them. You can see the Black militia marching, and it's a powerful symbol, to be sure. But the vast majority of people aren't going to be able to organize that way, and they're definitely not trained in order to do so. We need every ally that we can get. So I'll take their dirty money. I'll take their dirty $250 million. I'll take that, and I will push it towards lobbying politicians in order to abolish draconian drug laws. And then if you want to talk about actual reparations, we can actually start working towards, I don't know, perhaps getting somebody to go ahead and, I don't know, set up a fund so that people who are wrongly convicted of nonviolent drug offenses, they can now go to school and they can now go to work, and we can start putting people in places where you don't get to just extricate us. So if we decide, okay, we want to make something happen, we now have people and politicians who are in place who can do so. So that's just, my personal.
No, and I appreciate you, and I'm going to catch up. Luke, thank you for joining. Luke says it's not a problem that is solved by money. We have been throwing money at problems for years with no results. We need policy changes and a change in the thought process of morality and rights. Jason L. Bringing you back in as it relates to the Black National Anthem, what were your thoughts? As that's one of the, sorry, I don't mean to laugh. One of the gestures to, for lack of a better way of putting this, make it up to Black people.
I mean, it's just another facade. I think it's another thing that they could check off that we've tried to do to appease people. I agree with Fast King Craig. The Black National Anthem really means nothing to me at all. What I care about is the fact that there's 0 Black owners in the NFL, and there's only 2 Black coaches out of 32 teams. I care about that. Like, you really want to show change. I care about that they just hired this rookie head coach for the New York Giants when there was multiple assistant coaches and people of color that should have been for the job. Same thing with the NBA. Steve Nash gets a job for Brooklyn when that gentleman that just led them to the playoffs, and they did an amazing job. Or you have Mark Jackson. You have a whole bunch of other individuals qualified that should be getting these jobs. You really want to change. You really want to change things. You have to change the system. When I think of the NFL, man, I mean, I think of the NBA as the North and the NFL as the South during the old days. Real country, real systematic. This is what you going to do, and we own you. That's how the NFL runs things. And I mean, I know I'm getting off the national anthem because I really don't care about the national anthem, but I think Kyrie had it right. If they really wanted to change things, they should have boycotted. They should have stopped boycotting. And I'm talking about individuals. It may be some individuals whose money ain't right, so they can't boycott. But the people that star power, if they would have boycotted, it'd have been a different thing. LeBron, the Kawhis, because they got money already stacked. So you don't play, it sends a message. And, everybody said Kyrie was crazy, but Kyrie had it right. Until you start affecting the pockets, that's when things change. People don't, when you think about the boycott of Selma, it wasn't a 1 month, 2 month thing. They were boycotting for over a year. And that's something that we have to tap back into as our generation, because we want everything fast paced. Because of social media, everything is fast. No, sometimes you got to strap up your boots and dig into that sand and weather the storm and be uncomfortable for a little bit to find change. And that's what we really need. Man, no matter how much money that you $350 million for the NBA, that's a write-off. That's a tax write-off. Are you kidding me? That ain't no money to them.
Well, same thing for the NFL, because I mean, it's technically each team's contributing $1 million, essentially. So if you want to know how they got to that number, that's what happened. Each team is contributing $1 million. So when you look at it from that standpoint, yeah, you're absolutely right. It is a write-off.
It's a write-off. It ain't hurting nobody. And often these individuals rear the ugly head and the truth come out. But again, you got 30, I don't know how many teams in the NFL, but you got 0 Black owners. 0. So what that relates to me, when the correlation is, ain't nothing but plantations with white owners and a bunch of field hands, house Negroes, and they own them.
It is an interesting perspective. We are going to go down the lines as far as what the leagues are doing versus other leagues. Before we do that, though, I do want to give JD an opportunity to talk about the national anthem and the Black national anthem being played, because we had this conversation before. So what are your thoughts?
I mean, it's pretty simple. I hated the idea. I hated the idea from the jump. The minute they announced it, I was like, Lord have mercy, y'all done did something else that's just going to divide people even more. So like I hated that idea. I also kind of agree with Jamel Hill when she was like, they're about to find out real quick that Black people don't know the second verse of that song. And it's funny, but at the same time, let's just keep it real. Like, a lot of us don't know the second verse of that song. So like we
don't know the second verse of the national anthem either, because if we did, people would be like, oh, this song is racist.
Listen, hello.
Listen.
See, again. And that
Goes
that's
so many
the
different
point.
ways. But when it's all said and done, I hated the idea. I thought, like, when I first heard it, like, I was totally against it because, again, I just thought that's just another thing. Like, they think it helps, but all it's doing is just driving another level of division in the United States. So that's the short and long of it for me.
I didn't know we had a national anthem. I'm just saying, I didn't know we had a black one.
Well, and it's unofficially considered the Black National Anthem, which I find amazing because I still to this day don't know who unofficially made that the case. But I've known about it for a minute, because I was in like Black Student Union, African American Student Unions in college, and I didn't find out until college. But as soon as I got to college, I was like, oh, we got Black National Anthem, cool. I do. That leads me to a different type of question, though. Should the national anthem period be played at sporting events? And Jason L., I can already see what you think, so I'm gonna come to you. Not yet, though. I'm gonna go to Fast King first on this one. Do you think that the national anthem period should be played at sporting events?
Okay. Another controversial point. I love this country. I am in an abusive relationship with Uncle Sam. He doesn't like me. Doesn't treat me pretty well, and usually tries to ignore me unless I get uppity, and then he starts yelling at me. But I don't mind. It doesn't bother me. I never had an issue standing up and pledging allegiance when I was a child. As an adult, I don't have any issue with it being played at a sporting event. I'm not that militant. It was never for me. I never wanted to break this country. I'm not interested in actually destroying what's here. I don't want to see the destruction of. I don't understand. I guess I understand the feeling, but I don't like the fact that we don't like the way the house is, so we're going to burn the whole thing down while we're currently in it. I don't mind if they continue with their traditions. If you want to have the national anthem before a sporting event, that's perfectly fine. All I'm asking is own up and live up to the promises in that anthem. We're asking to be treated as just humans. We're not even at the point where we can be like, please treat us as Americans. Just treat us as human beings. Live up to the promises that are in the anthem if you're going to sing it. I don't mind. Please do, by all means. But take those words to heart and don't just recite it. Don't regurgitate it. Don't vomit it out. Just be like, oh, I stood, I put my hand on my heart. Yay, good, let's play ball. It's like, no, listen to the words that are in the anthem and actually own up to the promises that you made to this country. And then after that, you can keep doing whatever you want. But I don't want it to go away. I just want you to live up to your promises.
JD, your thoughts. Should the national anthem be played before sporting events?
I mean, this is one hell of a curveball question. I mean, wasn't prepared to answer this one at all. Like, I'm just gonna keep it 100% real with you. I mean, I think I'm kind of more in the vein of where Fast King is, right? Like, playing sports, a lot of my life, hearing the national anthem before those sporting events. Like, I don't think it's something that needs to go away. But I also believe that you shouldn't be scrutinized for what you do during that anthem, right? So life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, right? We, as people of color, really just want to be treated like everyone else is treated. We want equality, right? So if I feel like equality isn't happening and I want to protest police brutality, like I should be able to kneel during the national anthem. It's not like these people are turning their back on the flag. I think that would be far more disrespectful, right? We should be able to have these peaceful forms of protest, and these peaceful forms of protest should not be hijacked and turned into something that they're not. So I feel like it should still happen. I don't have a problem with the national anthem. I would like a asterisk or something on the second verse saying, hey, our bad, we made this mistake. We don't feel like this no more. I think that would be nice. But no, I don't have a problem with it being played at sporting events.
Jason L. before, and then I'm going to come back, JD, because you said something interesting. But Jason L., I saw you shaking your head. I'm going to give you an opportunity to answer the same question. Should the national anthem be played before sporting events? Jason L., you're muted. I can unmute you, though. I got you. Boom, you're good. Nope, I can't unmute you. You got to unmute yourself.
I'm sorry about that. As far as for me, you could play it. I don't stand. I don't put my hand. I've never done that. That's just me personally because I was raised differently. I was raised to know what the true meaning of the anthem is. The second stanza, like it's like almost. I hear Fast King Craig talk about the, abusive relationship. But yeah, you in an abusive relationship, and it's like a battered woman. Oh, he beats my behind, but I love him. No, that ain't right. So you have to right these wrongs. It's a racist song. Even when people are like, oh, the flag. Betsy Ross was a known racist. So, I mean, this country was built on racism. This country was built on prejudice, and it is built on it. So ultimately, when people talk about, even you think about the figureheads, John Adams, George Washington, all these people that the country idolized, they were racist and known to commit violent acts on people of color. So to say that it should be played, I disagree. It shouldn't be played. And I'm not un-American. I'm very much American. I'm more American than a lot of people that think they're so-called American because I'm pretty sure that we were here way before other individuals here. Even in I'm not going to go in depth, but even when people talk about Native Americans, originally there's documents and decrees that show Native Americans were actually people of color. And then because of that, because of their birthrights, they then changed them to be colored so that they could take away their land. So this country has a history of backdealings and disrespect and racist acts. So in hindsight, no, I don't think the national anthem should be played. But ultimately, it doesn't affect me because I'm that person that when everybody else is standing, I'm sitting down, and I dare anybody to say something to me.
JD, I'm going to come back to you with a question of something you said, but first I want to read what Becky wrote. When the anthem plays, I do not stand out of respect for my country. I was raised an Army brat, and I was married to the Navy before Mark and you met. When the anthem plays, she stands for her husband, her former parents-in-law, her grandfather, and those who fought for the right to make that decision of whether or not to stand. Thank you very much for sharing that. I do want to say, hey, Tammy, I see that you've joined us, so thank you very much for joining us this evening as well. JD, you said something that was extraordinarily interesting to me because you said that you can see it would be different if people were turning their back to the flag. And my question is that not a peaceful protest?
I mean, it's a peaceful protest, yes, but I think we all understand what the intent is when you turn your back to someone.
Yeah, but but that's the whole point. Is the peaceful protest is to get your point across in a very peaceful manner. So, is that would you consider that to be unacceptable way for people to be protesting?
No, I mean, listen, I don't know if I can sit here and tell you what's an acceptable and unacceptable way of protest. I think that's one of the problems that we have in this country now is people are trying to tell people how they should be doing things. So I'm not even going to go down that road. What I will say is when I was making a statement around turning your back, we know that turning your back to someone is typically a sign of disrespect, right? So we know exactly what that means. Am I going to tell somebody that they're wrong for turning their back on a flag? I can't say that. I'm just saying comparing different ways of protesting, a knee was taken so out of context when I think if someone turned their back, that is something that is kind of blatantly put out there that, listen, I'm proving a point, I'm disrespecting you, and I'm putting it out there like that. So that's where that point came from.
Okay. Mr. Isaac says national anthem lyrics in question, their blood was washed out of their foul footsteps, pollution, no refugee could save the hireling and slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave, and the star-spangled banner in the triumph doth wave, or the land of the free and the home of the brave. Thank you very much. Will Isaac is our resident. I'm going to drop some serious knowledge and information in the chat, so we appreciate you, brother, for always doing so. To carry the conversation forward, I want to talk about a few other leagues and what they're doing. And so I took a few notes here. So NASCAR pledged to do better towards racial injustices, which I thought was actually pretty interesting for the fact that there's not a lot of brothers and sisters that are operating with inside of NASCAR, unless somebody can tell me that's something completely different. Several NHL clubs are backing the Black Lives Matter movement as the league continues to play. The WNBA announced that 2020 season will be dedicated towards social justice. So together, the WNBA and the WNBA Players Association launched a new platform, the Justice Movement, to amplify voices and leadership of the WNBA players. And they are honoring the Black Lives Matter movement and the Say Her Name campaign. In addition to that, they partnered with IMG Academy out of Brayton, Florida, and they're going to host programming to connect players with each other and to their communities, which is pretty amazing. And then last, the NBA. So we all have gotten to see, if you've been watching any of the bubble or the playoffs, they've wore messaging on their jerseys. They actually held out of a playoff game. So Jason, I think you were talking about this. Now it was one game, but that was still a step that, quite frankly, I didn't think would ever be taken. In order for owners to come to agreement, and this is what they agreed on, establishing a social justice coalition, working with city officials to convert all arenas into voting sites, and including advertising spots in each playoff game that will raise awareness for voter access and opportunity. And that's a league. And then the players have come in, and LeBron James has a voting rights group that is actually helping Florida's ex-felons pay fines so that they are able to now register and vote. So
I'm talking about.
I look at that and I say, it feels like the NBA and even the WNBA are getting these right. Why are these leagues engaging in tangible support versus other leagues who don't seem to be able to or want to? Fast King, I'll go ahead and throw it your way. So why is it that the WNBA and the NBA seem to be getting these things right with tangible, actual things that are being accomplished with these other leagues? It feels like they just don't seem to be able to get it.
I said it before, I'll say it again. Focus groups. They need to focus group this stuff. They need to talk to a consultant and discuss what steps they need to take that are effective and meaningful, while not, just their whole point is to continue to make money. That's fine. This is a capitalistic society, but they need a focus group to find the most effective path. And a lot of them are just kind of spitballing, and they'll come up with stuff like, oh, we'll open with the Black National Anthem. It's just like, that's not a good idea. You should probably talk to somebody about that. I did want to speak earlier about something that Jason Lewis actually said. And my thing right now is the way that I'm looking at the current situation. For me there are a lot of people that I relate to, that I grew up with, that I worked with, and they are staunch patriots. They love their country. I assume they like me, but I love them. And I can't see, while we say we don't want to hear the anthem at the beginning because of its racist connotations, perhaps for your dislike of the country or what this country has done, I know that for us to go to war with them, metaphorically speaking, not literal, metaphorically speaking, taking away the things that they have grown accustomed to and they are quite proud of, will only cause further pushback. I'm not interested in taking away their toys. I'm interested in getting our own. And I'm unfortunately very aware of our position. And I use the metaphor that I'm in an abusive relationship, and perhaps I am an abused partner, because the normal reaction is, you need to leave, and I don't want to. I do love this country, but I also believe that this country can be better, and that's what I'm aiming for.
I think that the question therein lies too is, in an abusive relationship, it's leave, and there's typically options for a place for you to go. Yeah. And I think currently, because we are so disenfranchised, maybe from our culture, our history, the way we self-identify, prior to slavery, because most of the education that we have or the culture that we support starts from slavery and moves forward. So how do you then say, hey, I want you to get back to your roots when your roots have been stripped of you, from your spirituality to your identification, to your language, to your music, to everything that makes a culture a culture. And then we get put into a system that's designed for a different, completely different culture and say, but you can do this too, as long as you do X, Y, and Z. And if you do X, Y, and Z, a few of you will succeed. And we would use those stories to justify everything that we did to you to get you to this point. And I had an interesting conversation earlier with an individual where I just asked a simple question. And that's, well, because the question came up was, how do we find a way to get back to our roots? And I said, I don't think it's possible. And she said, why? I was like, because we're overtly Christian as a people, as Black people. And she says, well, why does that matter? I was like, because then it almost gives people, and I've even seen white people use this as a validation or a reason or excuse that slavery was a good thing. Because you have to remember, before slavery, were we Christian? And if we're deeply rooted into our spirituality, and that spirituality was beaten into us, murdered into us, tortured into us, because that's how we arrived into that space, then how are you truly going to ever be able to identify as your ancient selves, your ancient culture prior to the culture that was forced upon you? So I hear you, Craig, when you say, I don't want to leave because I don't have a place to, like, because my question is, where would you go? You can go ahead.
Jason had something to say?
Go ahead, Jason.
So a few things. When I say leave, right, this is our country. I think people misconstrue the fact of, the abuse part. I think it's more so taking your birthright and realizing who you are and what role you played in building this country. I mean, because even when you look at prior times, there was individuals that were a part of the culture that were people of color. You think about John Henson and things of that nature. So it's more so realizing, and even when Christopher Columbus came over here and allegedly discovered America, who helped him navigate here? It was the Moors, who were well-known navigators, and they were also people of color. So I think it's more so a lot of people need to research and really dig deep and get into the books of studying and really understanding who we were, what we were. And that's why they continue to destroy our towns. You know, there was individuals, when you think about, I think it was like Wilmington, North Carolina, where they had nothing but Black politicians and were flourishing. And then they came and destroyed it. Why is that? Because the moment you realize that, we're more than slaves, that it didn't start with slavery, then it's like people will wake up. You know, so when you say you're disenfranchised, we're disenfranchised because we don't study and gain the knowledge. You know, when you really start gaining knowledge, it's like, you're a conspiracy. No, it's not conspiracy. It's just facts. And even when you talk about, slavery and Christianity, even when they beat Christianity into us, they still didn't teach us Exodus. They picked and choose what you needed to learn. So, you know, when I say realize who you are, it's not about leaving this country. This is our country. It's really about taking your rightful stance and your rightful place, almost. You think about Black Panther, right? You had Killmonger, who was royalty. And it's unfortunate, but he had to sneak and connive to get back to his birthright of to who he was. And I'm not saying on the aspect of war or violence, but I think it's more so of knowledge, because knowledge is power. And when you can hit individuals with pure facts, it's hard to combat it. You think about, like, a lot of people got on Nick Cannon and he lost his job. And I literally had to have multiple conversations with some of my European friends of like, yo, what did he say that was necessarily wrong? Because when you look at history, a lot of what he said is true. The Vikings, the Slavs, they were individuals that brought carnage and terror.
So JD, I do want to bring it back to the topic, to back on topic, and that is. Oops, so sorry. I just got a message that came in. Why do you feel like these other leagues, or do you feel these other leagues are getting this wrong? Because I think what you said is you don't think that they're doing it wrong. Because you said, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I want to get back to that. The NBA seems to be getting things right tangibly, and these other leagues seem to not be able to do so. Why do you think that's the case?
Well, I think so. One, I said I'm not sure if any of these leagues are doing it right, wrong, or indifferent, because I think in a lot of terms, we as a people of color sometimes we have problems trying to dictate out like what we exactly want, right? So what I would tell you is why I think the NBA and the WNBA are able to do more. I'll take it back to let's look at the NFL. So when a new CBA comes around, the NFL players cannot even organize to better the situation for themselves. Like, think about this. There's been multiple CBAs within our lifetime, and they can never get all the NFL players to organize, and this is to better themselves. And we expect that same organization, those same players, to be able to organize for social justice, and they can't even organize to better the situation for themselves. So I think that's probably one of the biggest reasons why you'll see that. Like, if you look at WNBA players, this is a perfect time to talk about Maya Moore. Maya Moore walked away from the game to help a man who was wrongfully incarcerated for over 23 years get out of jail. By the way, she announced today that they got married. So like that even happened. So when we think about people that are actually willing to sacrifice and walk away from their sport, walk away from that paycheck, you see it's easier for NBA players and WNBA players to typically do that. A lot of NFL players don't. And again, even when they have an opportunity to walk away from the check to better the situation for themselves, they typically do not.
Very interesting. I want to thank every single person that's been on the panel tonight. Jason L., we're going to have another night where we're going to have a conversation about some of the roads you started going down, because it is very intriguing as it relates to when you say this is our country. And again, I'm phrasing this so that you know this is going to be a great conversation for another night, because we have to get off, and so we're going to make sure everybody has an opportunity for their last parting words. And by the way, if you're in the chat, please make sure you throw in your last parting words about any of the conversations that we've had tonight, or about any conversation you want to see moving forward. Ms. T.J. Scott Robinson says, I would encourage you to read The Color of Compromise. Christianity was used as dogma to justify slavery. Yes, it was. There's also a good book called The Dark Side of Christian History that talks about the history of how Christianity was used, not necessarily about Christianity itself, but how it was used as a very scary tool. And the author is 110% diehard Christian. So, Jason L., thank you. JD, thank you. Fast King Craig, thank you guys very much, man. I appreciate you guys jumping on with us tonight. I do want to give you an opportunity for some parting words, and then I'm going to actually give you some parting words from Testaros, from Tay, the Takeover. Hey, what's up, Desi? She just wanted to come on and say hi to JD and DJ. How you doing? So if you guys giving shout outs, that's pretty awesome. I haven't seen you on here, so thank you for joining. We're going to give everybody an opportunity to say some parting words. Jason L., I'm going to go ahead and start with you, brother. Is there anything that you would like to leave the audience with?
The biggest thing is knowing your power with your dollar. You know, knowing the power of the dollar is very important. I think the individuals, like I said earlier, Kyrie definitely had it right. You know, had they walked away, and say, you know what, we're not playing. You know what, let's cancel the season. I think things would change more drastically because you really hurt their pockets. Because at the end of the day, that's what Fast King Craig said. It's all about capitalistic society, and when you mess with the capital, everything else follows. So why was the civil rights bus movement so powerful? Because the majority of the individuals that took the bus at the time were people of color, and they were losing money. So when you start making individuals lose money, they will conform. Now, are they going to do it genuinely? No, but I'm not worried about the genuinely need. I'm worried about them doing it because this is what needs to be done.
Hey, man,
guys.
Hey, can I tell you, when I was watching the games, and thank you very much, Marcus. We appreciate you. Marcus, you got to hit us up one day. You got to come on the show. JL, it's crazy because the kickoff of the Falcons game happened. They kicked the ball off, and then everybody on that field on the sidelines took a knee. I'm not gonna lie, man. I jumped up because I said, "Is this about to happen? Are they about to just walk off and not play?" Because to your point, the amount of dollars and power that would have portrayed would have been astronomical. And for that slight second, I felt empowered. And then they got up and played the game. And
real quick, DJ, and let me just say this. And it doesn't need to be everybody, but let's be clear. For every one of these sports, with the exception of maybe baseball and hockey, if individuals of color walk away from these sports, it won't be respected. That's your tennis, that's basketball, that's NFL, and some baseball. And when I say people of color, I'm talking about my Latino brothers too. So
I think that would be, would be more powerful than NFL players and NBA players, which are predominantly black, walking off and not playing. Imagine seeing tennis athletes saying, "Nah, we're good. We're not going to play until we see systematic changes for the black and brown community, and these are the changes that we want to see." Similar to your point, it's being specific. That's what the NBA did. The NBA, the reason why I say it's tangible and it's powerful, because they said specifically, this is what we want. And they said, okay, this is what you'll get. And oddly enough, it didn't take as long as the bus boycotts. It took one playoff game. So imagine what you can get if because the need for more is there. They've already showcased of like, hey, no, we can't afford to do that. Imagine if the NFL players decided we're not going to play this week.
But these players need to realize they can't be enslaved by the dollar.
Well, and I'm gonna play devil's advocate on this because even though I said what I just said, I will also say this. I think it's very irresponsible for myself, for what I just said, or for anybody who says you should give up your millions and millions of dollars to appease a cause that might work, although nobody's going to support you financially if it doesn't. And when you're blackballed, because even if the NFL did it, they might not be able to blackball every player, but they'll blackball the ones who started it.
But let me say this to you real quick, DJ.
Colin Kaepernicks. And I got to tell you, if you're a rookie, you're just not getting into the league. You haven't made Colin wasn't on his rookie contract. You know what I'm saying? Like Colin had made some money. So like, it's not like he's hurting, but he could have made more.
But that's why I say to you, it has to be the individuals that have that star power. Think about this, right? That famous picture of Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Russell, that picture we love and adore. Those individuals were going to Muhammad Ali to say, stop protesting and go get that money. And it took Ali to say, no, this is why I'm doing this. This is why we need to be. And then they said, you know what? We agree and we're with you. Powerful. All it takes is one.
but that's an individual sport. And it's a lot harder with Muhammad Ali.
It's an individual sport, but think about it. They brought Jim Brown, who represented the NFL at the time. Bill Russell and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar represented the NBA. Because at the end of the day, it's an individual sport, but collectively, we have this complexion and we run these sports. Name me the greatest white basketball player.
Here's what I would tell you. I don't believe there's for a single second that we run these sports, because we're not owners of these sports. I believe we run. We might have immense talent to be able to provide entertainment, unlike other people in the world can. But in the same essence of saying that we run the sports because we're really talented and can do the work, would be like saying we ran the plantations because we did the work.
When I say we run the sports, I'm saying that nobody is watching the games if they're not there playing.
I mean, let me interject quickly. We can run this. He was dope. We can run the semantics all day. The problem is that the gladiators didn't run the arenas back in Rome. They were the slaves. They were being slaughtered for the entertainment of the masses who were kept objectively poor. Luke actually he said something way at the beginning. I never got the chance to actually say anything about it. Yes, we have always thrown money at a problem, but just like if you take a gun and you spray wildly in the air, you're not going to hit your target. We can throw money all day. What I mean is, I want strategic money, people in place. Somebody went. There was a super popular Instagram post where somebody went and they tracked the funding for Black Lives Matter and found that they're funding politicians, and the people were upset. They're like, I don't want my money going to that. It's like, what did you think change meant? Like, what did you think you were funding? It's like, we have to get politicians in place in order to make change happen. For us as a people, I'm going to steal. I will take anything in order to better my people. And I'm going to steal right now from the Greeks. Janus, the god of change, has a forward-facing and a rear-facing head. He looks not only to the past, but he also looks to the future. Jason, you're absolutely correct. We need to remember our past and remember that we are kings, but we cannot mistake our position. And our position is that of a quite literal minority. On a good day, we are only 13% of the population. We cannot afford to alienate possible allies because we're too busy trying to be kings again. We can say that this country is ours, but the Indians say the same thing, and they put them on nice little convenient reservations. They don't care. If somebody walks in your house right now and says, I used to live here, this place is mine, you're going to knock them out, put them through the wall, and then you're going to call the cops, who will probably, beat you to death instead. But we don't get to say that. We don't get to say this is our land. They don't care. The people that I know for a fact at least kind of like me, the white people who are in my life, I can't go to them and tell them, give me your stuff because I'm owed it. They're going to look at me like I'm crazy, and I'm going to get shot. We have to be very, very strategic. We have to be better. We have to be better. We have to be smarter. We have to be conniving. We have to be cheap, and we have to be dirty. We got to go and hit them where it hurts. We got to go find them. We got to go find their money. We got to put subversive laws in place. We got to go find any ally we can. We need to go to the crossroads and make our demon deals, and then we can move. Otherwise, we can just sit here with our funny hats and call ourselves kings all day long, and we'll get nowhere.
So fast cake.
Wait, time out. Wait, hold on. I told you we're gonna keep going into the conversation, but this is a different night. I will say this.
I'm done.
DJ, I just want to say that where did the Greek gods come from? Again, know your history. That's all.
Like then I'm stealing it back. I stole it back. Mine.
JD, I want to give you an opportunity to give us your parting words. Although you do have a horrible Orlando Magic thing on your
you gonna first of all, they made the playoffs. Stop talking about my stuff.
Go ahead.
Could have been the Clippers. So I'm gonna be a little selfish. I'm gonna be a little selfish, and hopefully my selfishness does something awesome. So many of you may not know, but tomorrow is my birthday. So I get to celebrate another year in this world, which is great. But you know what? I know most people like want to comment. They want to say the happy birthdays and send you text messages and stuff like that. And I appreciate that. But you know what I would really appreciate in honor of my birthday? I would like if everybody could do a random act of kindness. All right. And that could be any kind of thing that you think of that you deem fit. Hell, like taking your shopping basket and actually putting it in the cart corral versus just leaving it right there by your car is a random act of kindness. All right. So do some type of random act of kindness for me. I would not only enjoy that very much, but it will also be pretty cool if you either send me a Facebook Messenger or even post on my wall this random act of kindness that you decided to do. I think in some way, shape, or form, we got to try to make our world a little bit better of a place.
I want to say I'm very, very happy you said it, because I was going to say happy birthday to you. And if you want to do a random act of kindness, but you're not sure what random act of kindness is, here's a shameless plug for some issues we have here in the county. We do have a brother named Alton that's running for sheriff that we need to get elected, because it would be amazing. So if you go to www.altonforsheriff.com, you can always donate as a random act of kindness, and we would truly appreciate that, because he needs all the help. So oh, see that? We appreciate that. There we go. All right. So I am going to do something interesting here. And I'm going to read something written by the amazing Testarossa Tay in the comments, a.k.a. The Takeover, a.k.a. Billy D. Williams, reincarnated. It says, "Dear Black athletes of America, don't ever confuse it. America does indeed love you. They appreciate all of your blood, your sweat, your tears. The way you dazzle up and down the field or dunk from the free throw line, sacrifice your body to catch that pop fly in the outfield, lace up your gloves and knock out an opponent in 30 seconds, sink a 45-foot putt, or break records in track and field. They love you sacrificing your body, your family, your physical well-being for their entertainment and their entertainment alone." This photograph is of players and coaches of two NFL teams locking arms to show unity during a moment of silence in last night's game. This, what he's speaking of, is what kicked this conversation off, Houston versus Kansas City, just to make sure everybody's aware. And during this moment of silence, the same people who love you for your accomplishments on the field chose that moment to be audible about how they really feel about you outside of the above-mentioned parameters. You see, Black athlete, this time you did it right. You didn't kneel during the anthem. You didn't riot out in the streets. You didn't lead a march or a protest. You stood arm locked. You stood arm locked with fellow brothers in arms, respecting all who were watching and those who couldn't watch because of a series of unfortunate events, and they still booed you for it. It's about you, the Black athlete. See, America wants everything to do with your talent and nothing to do with your humanity. Because I find it hard to believe that athletes in locked arms during a moment of silence to show respect to the lives lost would have been booed if the message on the screen said "end cancer," "end autism," "end unfair treatment of veterans returning home and give them proper benefits," as opposed to "end racism." So, Black athlete, please remember, when you want to leave a team, whether it's for personal preference or new business opportunities, your own health, or whatever it is, you better do it unapologetically. Because for as much as your Black talent and matters to them, your Black life doesn't. So fuck them and do you. Tell them to beat you in a foot race and to feel a way about it. You get your money and you find a way to own a part of that industry, you and those ones before you help build. Peace and love, Tay. I appreciate you, Tay. I just wanted to read it because I thought it was absolutely fantastic and eloquent and well put. And I always appreciate you, brother, for putting your perspective out there for the world.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram right now.
Huh?
I'm going to his Instagram right now.
That's on his Instagram and on his Facebook. And I have to tell you, when I read it, I was dying, laughing in tears. Because the way it started, I was just like, this isn't really naturally usually how Tay talks about these things, but okay. And it's okay. There he is. So thank you very much. And if you like what he wrote, then I promise you'll like his music. So please check that brother out. I do want to apologize. That song is not out yet. I'm just lucky enough to being able to have heard it before all of you. So, but you will be able to see a snippet of the video and I think hear a little bit of the song. So please go check him out. Support that brother. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Thank you, everybody in the chat for coming on. We appreciate you. And we will see you next week on Tuesday. We'll be back for the Lighthawk Studios presents the Geek Seat, where we will be nerding out. So hopefully you can join us for that. And then after that, we'll be back the following Wednesday with here you go. The real me always shows up. We will be back in not next week, but the following week for the We Are Not OK show. I want to thank everybody, and you guys have a blessed night.